Welcome back to another episode of All Wizards Talk, a podcast on the All Sports Talk Network. I'm one of your co-hosts, Bryson Akins, joined alongside, as always, by Henry Brown in the flesh. Oh my goodness, we're at Summer League, and Josh Valdez,
Not
he's
here.
in DC. He's still stuck in Washington. He did not make the trip, and so he will not have a fun time on the strip with us tonight. So, but we have had a fun time. We went to Summer League last night. We saw Wizards versus Jazz in person. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great takeaways from that we're going to bring you guys here today. And the first thing that we got to talk about is just AJ Devonta. Jazz FC was all over him. They were saying we can't believe that the Wizards passed up on DP, that they gave us DP. Like this, it was a blunder. And then we see what happens, and DP got locked up. AJ outperformed him. It was a great game. It was a great game. What did you take away from that, Josh, while you were watching on the TV?
Yeah, I wasn't there. See, you guys were on TV. I was watching
Yes.
Yeah,
the
that
TV.
was really funny. I give Bryson. We all give Bryson some crap for that because we were out of focus for many a play after that game. Anytime someone would come down, they're running back in transition. There's sitting in seats that weren't supposed to be sitting in.
So funny,
Ton of fun though.
so funny, fun, very, very fun times. But yeah, no, I think John Muir's defense on DP was like he caused him like 6 turnovers. That's kind of crazy.
Caused six
Um,
turnovers. I remember because I made a comment about it. Um, After the first quarter, he forced two turnovers and held DP to 1 of 5 shooting from the field, which is just absurd.
Yeah, it was a tough start, and we talked about this earlier, but John Mayer isn't going to get this kind of burn on a regular basis, given that he's on a two-way deal and there's a million other guys in the rotation. But what a handy wild card just to be able to throw out in any future Utah matchups is to say, here's this ready-made guy who is like half a decade older and he's strong. He has a relentless motor, and now we haven't really seen this before. Now we know that he is willing to like start subtle contact and sort of push him. DP pushed him back, got called near the end of that
For
game.
his ninth foul, by the way.
9 fouls. They both had 9 fouls, and they're willing to get dirty. And it was a very, very intriguing advertisement for the many AJDP Wizards Jazz battles to come. I thought.
and you know what's crazy is like I wasn't even that surprised because John Muir has given trouble to like NBA stars before on defense. It's like it's amazing how good he is on defense. It's just he literally just has to develop offensive game, and then you got a serious player. But like Henry
That's all it
said,
is. Develop a
I,
shot.
right. I wrote last night. I was like, they can bring him in, at the end of games, even like early on in the season against like the best player. And so say if they have like a 6 point lead, you could just, last like 2 minutes of the game, you make sure like the best player doesn't score. Jameer's the guy. I
It's
mean,
nice to have that. And I was talking about it with Henry at the game where it's like, imagine like Bilal or Keyshawn getting into foul trouble. Let's say Bilal gets 4 fouls at the start of the third quarter. Now you have
yeah,
Jameer who can just come in and sort of replace him for that time before you get back to the forefront. It's like, look, like we know, Bilal, our best defender that we regularly play right now, he's in foul trouble. But we have Jameer Watkins on the bench. We can just throw him out there. We know he's going to put on some good defensive pressure.
Yeah, it was almost like a coming out party where he was this
yeah.
guy who mostly Wizards fans know about him, but he's not super talked about outside. He's this sort of open secret as this really scary defensive weapon you can throw in sort of doses. Utah fans were not happy with him, and that was the first time I've seen anyone start to throw some hate on any Wizards in a while. Let alone some of the stuff AJ heard last night. That was pretty crazy. Some of those foul baiting accusations he's already
It
getting.
is wild.
One game into summer league.
We have had one summer league game, and Brick Center has already made a foul baiting montage of AJ Debonsa. The Wizards are back. That's what I'm taking away from this. The Wizards are back in action. I got to step away real
Yeah, so
quick.
is housekeeping. They're back as well. Bryson's gonna
That that's so true though, because if you think about it, it's like if you are like, talked about and you're like in the news, that means you get hated on, right? It's like so now it's like they're getting an SGA foul bait montage after one summer league game. Jazz fans hate Jameer Watkins. That means like your team has motion, serious motion.
I saw people calling him a 30-year-old scrub on the timeline. Like,
No. It's like, can you just Google for 2 minutes? It doesn't even take 2 minutes, actually. Google
and
Jameer
then
Watkins, just look at what his career has been. One season.
a lot
Like,
of the comments that I got under that post about how Jameer guarded DP in that first quarter was also like, Well, yeah, he also had 5 fouls after the first quarter. I was like, the 5 fouls are the reason he went 1 for 5 from the field. That's the reason he was shot
And they
one for
both had the
five.
same
The
amount of
fouls.
fouls. They both had 9 fouls.
Yes.
That's
That's already
true.
crazy.
I love the summer league 10 fouls thing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, the free
Um,
throw thing keeps throwing me off as well.
Yeah, they've done it where it's 1 for 2 now, and so it's like
Yeah.
it's weird. And so like I was doing the math. Um, AJ shot, went to the line 8 times last night. One of them was an and one. Realistically, he would have had 15 free throws in a regular NBA game.
Got fouled on the floor a bunch of
Yeah.
times. He was going up for a runner, and they just got him on the go.
yeah.
He's already so good at just like the idea of needing paint touches isn't going to be a problem for a while.
No.
Trae Young was one thing. Watching a guard glide into the paint the way he did in those 5 appearances. Only you can't see me 5 appearances. Now this guy is like almost infectious. Where now
It's insane.
he's getting there at will, and he's getting fouled, and he's having some crazy finishes. That was like 2 or 3 like up and under layups he had. The touches there, the athleticism, and the effort, the initiative to get down there. It's just crazy to see out of a Wizard of all people.
And the
It's
thing
just
is
fun.
like, okay, imagine when this guy, first of all, this is his first game in like 4 months, right? Ever since he lost in March Madness in the first
Yeah.
round, right? And then it's like, so he's not like in full like peak, form yet, and his jumper's not even really there yet either. But he was still cooking, right? Obviously, I know he missed a lot, but in general, you saw there's just extreme explosiveness and like athleticism at the rim. That's such a good foundation to work off of.
Yeah, I think he shot 7 of 16, if I'm
And
not
went and
mistaken.
over 5 from
Yeah,
three.
over 5 from 3. The three, it wasn't pretty. Like we can't ignore that.
A lot of front rims.
Yeah, the three wasn't pretty. He was short on a lot of shots, but I mean, shoot, you take away the threes, he went 7 of 11, I think, from the field. From inside
I think he was
the
7 of 18 in total.
That
Okay,
sounds
then
right.
7 of 12. That's or 7 of 13. That's still very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And
and
so
the coverages he was seeing were crazy. Like Peterson got a lot more talk for that because he was just playing with a simply less impressive summer league lineup. Like everyone we saw out of the Wizards starting lineup, we're gonna see play real minutes at some point this season. Even someone like Felix Okpara, who is pretty far down on the big man depth
mhm.
chart. The Utah summer league team isn't really like that. They don't have as much uh, uh, talent sort of built up that far down.
They already
Well,
signed Ace
I know.
Bailey as
They already
well.
had Ace Bailey.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna say
matters.
Ace. Yeah, yeah.
That matters. It was
So,
pretty dark without him. So he was definitely seeing some early doubles, but so was AJ, and so was Trey for that matter. Like the Wizards were getting collapsed on really quickly, and I thought they handled it much better than many of them did last year.
Yeah, early in the game, I saw like he had 7 points in the first minute and a half. And then after that, Trey started getting doubled almost every single time. Then it opened up the chance for AJ to start to score a little bit as well. And it's like, well, now, and this is what I think you're going to see with the Wizards as well. Where like in that game last night, it was like, okay, well, you can't double Trey because then that's leaving open space for AJ. And it's like, well, we can't double AJ because that's leaving open space for Trey. And it's like, well, we can't double both because now all of a sudden we have one defender for 3 players. You
Yeah,
can't do that. And so it's created this sort of situation where it's like, man, like they really like you can't double anyone. I think you're going to see that with the Wizards as well because let's say Trey Young is hot one night, and we'll talk about him soon as well since he had his press conference. We were at that. Let's say Trey Young is hot. Let's say he starts a game, or like the third quarter, going 4 for 4 from three. All right, he's hot. He's getting double teamed now. Well, all of a sudden, you have AD who he's getting one-on-one matchup, and he starts cooking. He goes 3 for 3, back to back to back, bang. Now he's getting doubled. Well, like shoot, go back to Trey Young now, or like AJ DeBonce's out there, where it's one of those things where this roster, how you have it set up now, is like you can rarely double team a player now for the Wizards, and it's going to open up this offensive time.
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's actually insane how much talent is on this team. I mean, and the thing is like like you're saying, okay, AJ and Trey, they're not going to see these like looks on defense that they were seeing last night. But it just shows you that even when they do see that, even when they are like at the top of the rotation, they can still like have a really loud performance.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like what happens when they're not even focused on as much because you got Trey and AD and Sar and everyone else out there. That's gonna, like I don't think Trey Johnson's gonna be double teamed at all this season. I doubt it. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's a fantastic shooter. So that's the kind of thing that they have a really bright offensive upside.
And it reminded me that a lot of our projections for what the Wizards can be next season are built around the idea that AJ is going to be this good rookie But if he is like a great rookie, which he looked like yesterday, setting some kind of tying the record for most points in a summer league debut with 27.
Yeah.
For first overall pick, I should say. That changes everything. If this guy is already ready to be the third best player, or maybe more, who knows, on a really good team, that's
bright.
everything. That's immediate playoffs. That because we're looking at play in right now as their sort of range, what we should expect, how we should tender our more bullish expectations. This changes everything. If he's ready to maybe not give 27 every night, but attack in so many different ways.
Give him 20.
Yeah, I think 20 points a night is very much in the cards. It's really just going to be about how many shots is he taking.
Yeah, with that kind of knack for drawing free throws, that even by rookie standards, and rookies aren't known for getting the best whistles, but the idea of knowing where to go and sensing the moment, which he definitely did last night. There were a bunch of plays, a bunch of highlights he left on the table. Honestly, like there was one time
he got DP up in the air and
he
just
got DP
missed
up
the
in the
shot.
air. He broke someone and like missed a three at the first quarter buzzer. He and DP didn't have many possessions on each other, but they had one where DP was guarding AJ near the end of the first half, and you felt in that moment that it hadn't happened very often because that whole Vegas stadium just sort of got loud. And it reminded. It was like a big playoff game in the last possession when you're just watching, you're feeling momentum change, and the Wizards did help. We're riding really high at the moment, but those guys really know there's a rivalry, and they said so, or at least AJ said so in his press conference yesterday, sort of likening he and DP to T-Mac and Kobe as like their comparisons, and he sees those two. He's really embracing the rivalry they've had all from high school, college, now summer league, and the regular season isn't even here, but the fan base is already getting in on it too.
Yeah,
and also this was AJ's first win over DP in his life.
It is
high school. So AJ actually mentioned that after the game. He was like, "This is the first. I finally beat him because he beat him twice. Before college, and then he beat them.
Kansas College.
Last season. That game, DP scored like 20 points in 18 minutes or something for Kansas.
Yeah, he barely played in the second half.
Yeah, it was crazy. But AJ finally got him back. So it could be something we see more of. I think Wizards Jazz games for the actual season are going to be a movie for sure.
It'll be fun. The two that we get.
It's going to be that. It's going to be AJ versus any other.
Because it's not even just AJ versus DP for him, because they're like when you look at it, they are the two up and coming teams in their respective conferences. And so anytime you play against them, and they're very evenly matched as well when you look at it. I mean, like, Keontae and Trey, DP and AJ, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Anthony Davis, Alex R. and Lauri Markkanen, like stuff like that, where it's like it's very evenly matched, and it's going to make for good hoops no matter what every single time they play against each other.
They're two of the earlier picks of these teams that haven't been good in a while to return to the playoffs. I've noticed that among some Jazz hype as well.
Definitely. And what's funny is like Ace Bailey is probably going to come off the bench for them, like Trey Johnson for the Wizards. Both of the first round picks, or actually the top 6 picks from last year. That kind of shows you how fast they're going up.
Yeah, it's almost like this second level rivalry that's going on, where it's not there hasn't really been any buzz about it, but they were compared a lot as prospects. They were picked back to back. And they're both these, score first highlight machines. And that's another thing about this game. It sort of made me remember just how good Trey Johnson is, because we've only really talked about it in the last few months in regard as, will he be the 5th starter? And you're seeing if this guy comes off the bench, this is how good the offense could look. It's this deadly shooting. And
for
Trey Johnson, especially considering he, a lot like AJ, seems just he was willing to do so much damage inside the arc. The runners, the floaters, the pull-up game off the pull-up. He was getting to the rim, finishing these sort of crazy gliding hook layup shots. He was just so much more versatile than your average guy who hits crazy 3-point shots. And you felt that with all of the young guys that maybe they did say they were going to get more physical, and it does take a while for you to add that implement to your game, to your shot diet. I know we don't like saying shot diet over here, but there's a real mindset shift in place. You could see that with Will Riley as well, even though he wasn't as successful with the last couple minutes. But these guys were all trying to make sure they get their paint touches up and keep feeding the big guys.
Yeah, that's something that I think if all the young guys can get to the paint, I think this team's in a good place. I mean, the ones who can't probably won't be in the rotation as much. I feel like it's at that point now. It's like, all right, you gotta make the defense collapse. You got to be able to have some gravity, even if you're like mostly outside play. You still got to be able to go in when we want you to.
It really mattered to me that the Wizards got up by a lot 10 the first half. The lead was like hovering around 20 for like a quarter.
They were up 18-4 when the Jazz took their
Yeah.
first time out.
Yeah, and a lot of that was because the Wizards getting better shots. It helped they had like some of the better players. They had a more
It wasn't even just
versatile
that, I
attack.
think.
Well, that's the thing. They were doing that, but also they were creating better shots at the rim. I feel like the Jazz were having to settle for a lot more threes that
It's
the
not
crowd
to
didn't feel like they were
me.
going to go in.
To me, it wasn't necessarily them creating better shots. It's just you can tell a lot of these players have just gotten stronger.
That's my thing.
Mhm.
The fact they can
okay.
they can get downhill and
Yeah.
do things. They're not just getting bumped out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, like Trey Johnson, for example. I think that's what really separated him. Is like he just looks so much more physical. He does, and
Yeah.
like seeing him last night as well when he came to the scrum. I mean, you could just tell he has gotten bigger. He was wearing his classic quarter zip that he always wears, especially under his practice jersey for some reason. But even in the quarter zip, you could tell like, hey, he's gotten a little bit bigger. You can tell he has gained some muscle and size to him.
Yeah, it's like an
Definitely.
institutional approach to actually making sure they did watch the playoffs and showing everyone we know that the name of the game right now is show that you can do more than just chuck threes. As valuable as that can be if we're comparing threes and twos.
Yeah, I think it's definitely really nice that the whole young core is sort of having that mindset. Like, all right, let's get stronger. Let's get in the weight room, and now let's get to the room. It's like it's really that simple sometimes because it's like once you do that, it opens up everything. You know, if you can't get to the rim, it's just really hard to do much because then it's just way too easy to guard against you. So if
Yep.
you know, I know Trey Johnson kind of came in as a 3-point shooter, but if he starts getting to the rim a lot at the when the actual regular season starts, he could be a 3-level scorer too. I don't see why
A
not.
lot of it was just those bump offs in the mid range. That's what like really just stood out to me. It
Yeah,
was
like
like,
Keyshawn.
oh my goodness, it looks so much.
Right.
It just looks so much better now. It's just it was impressive watching him. I'm not trying to overreact just to one summer league game for
That's what
like
it's
a
for.
performance. So, yeah, I know that's what summer league is for us to overreact to one game. But I mean, like it's just it's the fact that it's like if he can do this at the NBA level instead of summer league, if he can do this during the regular season, it's gonna be deadly. It's the same with AJ, and like that's kind of goes in my thing where it's like mentioning he could be a 20 point per game scorer in his rookie season. It's not from what he just did against the Jazz summer league team. It's the fact that we saw the Jazz summer league team say we can't double one person because it leaves someone else open. The Wizards, opposing teams are gonna have the same problem against the Wizards in the regular season because of that, like we mentioned, with the amount of offensive weapons that they have in that starting lineup and just in the roster as well.
Here in Vegas, we've been thinking a lot about how these guys fit into the general full roster when everyone's ready to play in the fall because it helps that everyone's been at the first game. The whole team showed up to game one, and they were all
Amazing,
there
right?
today. It's crazy. I've never seen them before, and they were
Everyone
all
showed up to
there.
the press conference.
Exactly, they're at the press conference.
The only
The
person
whole
gone
squad.
was Middleton.
And he was at least there yesterday.
Yeah, he was there yesterday, and I think Will actually said that he left early.
Yeah, well, the fact that he showed up at all, everyone's bought in, and it's sort of like the really optimistic version of last year, where the Wizards, I believe they lost their first summer league game, and they were getting dogged on because people were thinking, "Oh my God, this is their actual starting lineup." That Sard, Keyshawn, Bub,
Yeah,
Riley, and Trey Johnson, because that's all they're really working with this time last year in Bilal. And now it's still a summer league lineup full of guys who have major league talent, but then you're seeing all the other guys who are in the mix on the sideline, guys who have better cases for starting, guys who have more experience. It shows that there is just a much better team in place, really suddenly, than there was this time last year.
it's really impressive to see like what has actually happened with the Wizards now, and like you mentioned, the people on the sidelines, like they have Keyshawn George who's playing for Team Canada right now. They have
Yeah,
some dogs on that
he
team.
took the time to show out. So did the recently signed guys like Middleton or
Yeah,
the recently traded for Aiden. Everyone, no matter how recent they got there, everyone showed up.
Middleton.
Like
He just
yeah,
got back what 3 days ago.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. That's crazy.
And he was already there supporting him. It was very like it was impressive seeing what they did on the court, but it was more impressive to see just how bought in this team is for this upcoming
Mm-hmm.
season. You don't like you don't ever really see a full team just show up on the sideline to watch the game. Like the Jazz had some guys there. They had JJJ there.
Yes.
He
I
was
saw
there.
Collier there.
Collier was there. Outside of that, it was like didn't really see much anyone. For the Mavericks game, I only saw Coop there.
Max Christie.
Max Christie was there. That was it. Where it's like all these other teams are playing, it's like you don't see over 5 players from that team be there. You don't. Whereas with the Wizards, the entire team was there, and it's like Anthony Davis, Trae Young, those are big name guys where it's like they could have been somewhere else to like stay out of the light a little bit, but they decided to show up and support the team. It was impressive.
Yeah, especially with AD, right? Because we know that's been a huge talking point this summer. You know, as of now, it looks like AD is fully bought in. We know that he and his reps met with the team over the summer to talk about things, just like AD said they were going to do. Like we're going to talk this summer, see what's up. We don't know all the details of what happened there. We know that AD is extension eligible in August. I don't think they should sign anything in August,
I don't
but
think so either.
we'll see.
Even
But
even though he is very very talented, I don't think they should extend him right now. I think that'd just be bad business at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I agree. But it's just nice, regardless of that. It's just nice that he is fully bought in. He's not
Hmm.
sort of like halfway, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, as he was before.
I think part of that is because he realizes that there is something going on here where it's like even if he does want to stay here, and it is very rare you see a player take a salary cut just to be on a championship team. But if he's trying to solidify a Hall of Fame case and no doubt go into it, it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to take a budget friendly deal to stay in Washington and be like, yeah, I'll be the starting four here. And I don't got to be the first option like I had to be for the Lakers during that 2020 run because he had to be the first option sometimes. And so LeBron, he had to take that role where it's like, well, here I can be the third option and still put up 20 a night for this team, and we're going to blow a lot of teams out of the water. And so I'm not saying this is my advocation for AD to stay in Washington long term. That is not what this is. I'm just saying I think he's starting to realize that this could be an option for him long term. It just comes down to if he's willing to take a pay cut to really keep this team together.
If nothing else, you advertise I still have value because a lot
Yep.
of these guys arrive in Washington because they were a buy low experiment. So you might as well show I'm still Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Who,
If he can if he can do 20 and 9 a night, for the Wizards and they have a winning record come trade deadline, his stock's going to be high where you can get draft capital in return for him.
and on the topic of extensions, I'd like to also talk about some things we saw today at that
Yes.
conference because it wasn't just that it was in the Four Seasons Hotel, which Bryson
Oh
and
my
I were like
goodness.
marveling at the whole way through.
They have glass or they have water in a glass bottle. Like they're just handing that out. Like how do you get that rich?
And big old staircase too.
Oh
But
my.
it felt like a really big deal besides the venue because it was the first press conference we've had that was based around an extension. All there's really been on the extension front has been the little contracts to keep the two-way guys on these full deals, whether it's Vucevic or Watkins. But this felt like a real big buy-in that Trae Young, who talked about it, is willing to commit to this team through the rest of the decade. They're willing to commit to him. The rest of the team is here. They can sense the moment, the jump coming. And as we said, the whole team who was out the game yesterday showed up single file. Bub had some questions, and it felt like sort of a commemoration of we're cutting the ribbon on the next step of what was the rebuild.
It is amazing when you put it that way. It's like the first like extension press conference since I guess this regime came in, right? I didn't think of it that way. That is a cool. It is definitely like a marker in time. Like okay, this is big. Things are changing. Um, you know, yeah, I think in terms of what he said, it seemed good. I think that we already knew he was super bought in. And he was just kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to show you guys. That's cool. I definitely think as good as he is, he does have a lot to show, given that this is such a massive contract. This was the max that someone else could have offered. And I think the Wiz, probably knew that it was a big chunk of change, but they also just wanted Trey in town. And they were like, you know what, let's just do it. We don't even want to mess with it. We don't even want to have any issue. Let's just do it. So they did it, and I think that Trey mixing in with AJ is going to be tricky. AJ is going to have to be off the ball more, and that's fine. But I just think that Trey's going to have to be super leaning into his passing side. I think a lot, just because of how much talent's on his team. And look, he has 9.8 assists a game for his career. It's not like a problem. It's
And
just that
I want to point out something that when I asked Will this, I specifically asked him. It was like, he had options in free agency and via trade to bring in someone other than Trey. So I was like, what specifically made him stand out? And he said something that has really stuck with me. And he said in the few games that he did play for them, he had a higher career assist percentage with his lowest usage ever. That is that's something showing because when we think of Trae Young, we think of someone like he has a high usage rate. He needs to be involved almost every single time. Whereas, like, if that's really the case, and he's going to take a little bit, I don't want to say backseat role,
But
but
just hike down the usage because it's been pretty
exactly.
high in the past.
And so, like, if that's going on, where it's like this is his highest career assist percentage with his lowest usage percentage right here, that is just I like that's music to my ears because then it's going to leave the floor open for AJ DeBonsa to do a little bit more work on ball, AD to have a little bit more leeway with the offensive workload as well. Where it's just really impressive. And I also asked Trey, and this was almost a gotcha question, which I feel bad about in hindsight now. I didn't even realize at the moment, but I asked him, sort of like does he feel a sense of relief now since he's playing with one of the best big men the game has seen with Anthony Davis? That's something that we can't deny. Just everything that he does. And then one of the best young centers in Alex Sarr. I didn't even mention AJ DeBonsa, but then everyone on the bench, it was one of those things where it's like looking at it, like, man, like one of those things where
A lot
it's
of
like,
options.
yeah, one of those things I asked him is like, is there a sense of relief where it's like you can rely on those options late in the game? And he said, it's a great word. He's like, I definitely feel a little bit more of that now. And so, like, it's really impressive to see A, just how bought in he is, and B, we were just so worried that he was going to be the Trae Young we saw in Atlanta, where it's like he is going to be have one of the highest usage rates in the NBA and be on ball a ton, not give it up until like last second, or you try to use a bunch of screens, not get everyone
Yeah.
involved or move off ball now, where it's like I said, this was his lowest usage rate, while having his highest percentage and assists. Like it's
It really
impressive.
reminded me of his exit interview at the end of the regular season when he had sort of a similar response but he talked more about the Hawks, where he said he got some flack for this, but he said he's never been around an assortment of defenders this impressive. He recognized the team was huge, and he was just sort of rolling out the red carpet for all that he can create alongside a bunch of big disruptors. And now to start the offseason, they've gotten AJ and Fields, who are two big guys in the draft, as well
DeAndre
as
Ayton.
Ayton as a third big, and it just shows that they're even more serious about following through with this best version of the team that he's envisioning, and that again has to appease him entering a free agency, even if it was just for like a week.
Yeah.
It's amazing that I think that he's not gonna say it like super directly, but I think it's pretty obvious that he's like this is the best roster that I've had like far enough.
I was
Like
going to say that, like, it is crazy. The Wizards have done a better job of, so to speak, building a roster around Trae Young in the past, what, 5 months than the Hawks did in 8 years.
You got to really think that after that 21 run they went on, when they went to the conference finals, that roster's getting a lot of love, and now they're all gone. They're all just sort of scattered across different benches across
The
the league.
second best player was John Collins, and now his second best player he's ever played with is Anthony Davis.
Yeah,
Like
that sort of put this in perspective.
that's a huge upgrade for him. Where it's like, man, like this truly is the best roster Trae Young's ever played with. And you took that 2021 squad to the conference finals. Imagine what he can do in a more off-ball role with the Wizards.
It's like an
and then, so the thing with Trey Young in 2021 is you couldn't stay in front of him, right?
Yep.
Like I remember that so clearly. Like just nobody could. You just couldn't. Like you
Yeah,
couldn't do
Reggie
anything.
Bullock couldn't. Nerlens Noel couldn't. Whoever else was on that Knicks team couldn't.
Bro. But same with Philly though. They couldn't do nothing with him. Like it was like it was just it was he was incessantly getting to the rim, and I think he can still do that. But I just think it's not going to look the same as that 21 Hawks team
Probably not.
because now it's like again that team they had good players, but it wasn't like this kind of firepower the Wizards have, where it's like
Yeah.
AD and AJ
And that's the
and
thing I was thinking, where it's like he doesn't need to be the player that blows by everyone.
right,
That's not what you need
exactly.
from Trae Young now, especially for this Wizards team, because guess what? You have a player that can do that right now in AJ DeBonsa.
Right.
He has a insanely quick first step. Whereas one of those things where it's like we need you to facilitate and learn how to come off ball screens for a 3-point shot.
That's what stuck with me after Dawkins' conference today was he pointed out Trae Young's connective tissue that you can't average that many assists without having some desire or some instincts to keep the ball moving and create plays. And it might be sort of a clunky fit next to AJ, whether we're talking the defense, whether we're talking how willing they both are to play off the ball.
Yeah.
But they both have something there in terms of facilitating some crazy offense with a lot of different attackers. You can go 12 deep. Most guys in this roster have a way of getting their own bucket.
And he mentioned, I think, how Trey has been 99th percentile or better in assists per game in the NBA since he was a rookie. Where it's like you don't do that without naturally being a good facilitator and playmaker. I just feel like he got a bad rep because he was unfortunately in Atlanta he was the offense. They didn't
Right.
really have anyone around him for a few
The
years.
thing we have to say there is he was the offense partially because he wasn't very flexible, and that's where the ball really is in his court. He said at end of season that he was going to prove more in defense, and he showed in tiny bits over 5 games with the Wizards that he was willing to defer a bit more, and a lot of that is built on that sort of promise without ever he never did a pinky promise, but he made the impression that he's ready to turn a new leaf in DC, and he has the players where if he wanted to do that, this is who it's for. Someone like AJ.
I think that he could almost do kind of like a Steph Curry thing where he like runs off the ball a ton and then
Yes.
gets like that whole thing. Like that could be something really great that he hasn't really done as much in his career yet. But if he does that on this team, that could be crazy.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to be that kind of shooter, but if you just keep the ball moving and
Right.
just set the example for this undying effort.
I'm just trying to think what those pick and rolls and pick and pops with Anthony Davis is going to look like, man.
It's going to be crazy. All of their divers to the rim are going to be nuts. The guys you can just have wide open off on the corners for shots. There's a lot
It's
of
just
possibilities.
exciting times.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like we were saying earlier, like compared to this team from last year or a couple of years ago, and it's just like look at this. It's like they've turned this around. Not that it doesn't take them that much time if you really look at it,
Oh.
like this roster, right? Trae Young, AD, AJ alone is crazy, and then you add like on another year of experience for these other young guys that were already there, like Sar and Trey Johnson and them and Keyshawn. They're all getting better, right? So it's just like it's kind of hard to even conceptualize how good they'll be,
Even
Like-
we said this comparing last year's summer league roster.
Yeah.
Then they were preparing for a regular season that was going to be manned by guys like CJ and Middleton as like the starters, and now Middleton is back as like window dressing just a year later, and it's not like his game has drastically changed, but there's just so many more options they've gotten so quickly.
Yeah, it's if you guys had to kind of predict, based off what we've seen so far, sort of the stats for both Trey and AJ, how they work off of each other. What do you think?
If I'm being realistic, I have AJ at like 17.3 points per game. I'm like just trying to be realistic. 20 as a rookie is just extremely hard unless you are the bona fide first option. And there's going to be a lot of
team.
Yeah, especially this team when you have so many weapons here. So I'm thinking like 17.3 points per game for AJ. Trey, I could see somewhere around 21.5, somewhere in that range.
I think you could aim a bit higher. Those are both 16 to 18 range is good for AJ. I think. For Trey Young, I feel like you could go up to like 23 just for all of the attention he's gonna draw.
It's just you're not going to see the Trey Young that's averaging 30 on this team. You're just not because he's every night. It's not like he's the first option now. Every game there's going to be a different first option between Anthony Davis, Trey Young, and AJ DeBonsa.
Yeah. With that said, the offense is going to start with him, and if anyone else is ever inactive or unavailable, Trey Young is, this season aside, almost always there and ready to play. So he is fully willing to take whatever is there for the night and put it on his shoulders.
Yeah, it's well, also how many assists is Trey gonna get? Because we know that's that's gonna be a big.
I think he
big
gets
part
double digits. Just being honest with.
Wow.
Well, it's mainly because he always thrives when he has a good big man beside him. He has two great starting big men.
That's true. I believe they will need some good spacing to take the most advantage. Because when I think of double-digit assists, I think you're running one of like the best offenses in the league. I'm not sure the Wizards presently. My worry with them has always been I wish they had more guys who could play offense and defense. I feel like they have a lot of guys who are good shooters or good rim runners who can't do it on the other end, or the other way around. They have like good specialists who aren't the best floor spacers. I feel like they will need some developments on that end of guys becoming a bit more versatile. But I would imagine, you can see Trey. I can see him like getting like, I don't know, eight assists per game.
I don't know. I think that's low.
Is that too low?
I think you're underestimating it a little bit. Just
what am I underestimating?
So that 2021, 22 season.
We'll go to the 21 season. That was when they made the
2020, 2021. He averaged 9.4. We know that offense. It wasn't like they had the weapons that Washington has right
But by
now.
that same thing, you had much higher usage than he will now.
He did, but like I also mentioned, this was his highest assist rate for usage rate.
Yeah.
And like the lowest usage rate and his highest percentage of assists. Yeah, for the Wizards in these 5 games.
Maybe I think a lot of this depends on how good the rest of his teammates are to do that now. I think this season might be for some of the other prospects, not named AJ, who may be ready immediately for all we know. A lot of them might need a bit more time to fit into what he needs. Who knows? Maybe he will get double digits. I'm trying to make.
And it's just like the less shots he's been taking, naturally, the higher his assists have gone up. I mean, he took the 3rd least amount of shots per game in his career in 2024-2025 at 18 a game, and it was the most assists he's ever averaged in his career at 11.6, almost at 12.
There's hope. Maybe he can. It's not ridiculous, but I think he will need some more ready teammates. What do you think, Josh? Are we you think we're going too low or too high?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I would say Trey gets like 9 point something assists. The only thing is, I think that the starting lineup lacks 3-point shooting a little bit, because
but he
AJ.
won't always be with the starters.
Yeah, I know, but I know, but I'm saying
a huge 3-point jump from like Sar.
I get Trey Johnson, but
that would help. But like, even if you have those guys, you need probably a bunch of guys who can play really good defense. And as we're saying, not a whole lot of those good defenders can do a ton of offense.
I just don't think he's going to get assists from 3-point shooting though. Like I just think
it's going to be mostly like
it's going to be screens. It's going to be screens and cutters that he's going to find for assists.
Yeah, but a lot of that collapses if you don't have like good floor spacing. Otherwise, they know that the book's out. Like
that's why you got Trey.
Yeah, but if you have Trey, then you don't have a ton of offense everywhere else. I think because if you have the Treys, you probably need good defenders to make sure that no funny business is going on in the backcourt. So who knows? Maybe some guys will learn to be really good two-way threats. Maybe that's where AJ comes in for all we know.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe, but the thing is about the cutting and the screening is like that will work, but also if you're not shooting threes enough, the defense will pick up. So it's like that's the only thing is like I want to see the balance. Just because, and a lot of it is just like if like AJ's got to work on his three, we know that. Like AD and Sar, they're just gonna hit like 30% at best probably, right? So it's like that's the kind of thing where it's like okay, then like Henry said, Trey can come in off the bench, but then his defense isn't great either. So it's like okay, that's where it's like it feels like they're always losing something when they gain something. If that makes sense.
They need some balance.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
So.
He definitely has like the chance to, maybe lead the league in assists. It's definitely, it's in his blood. He's done it before. He almost always like there's like 3 of the last 4 seasons or something like he's like led the league in total assists or something like that. He's always going to get his counting stats.
11.6 assists with less weapons than in Atlanta than he does now.
It's impressive.
That's where I'm looking at it, where it's like he's averaging all these assists with, and like this is no shade to John Collins, but John Collins was his second option. And he was averaging, 10 assists then. Like that alone is impressive. Now you're going from John Collins and rookie year Jalen Johnson, who wasn't that great his rookie year, to now Anthony Davis, AJ DeBonta, Alex Sarr.
So do you factor in
Keyshawn George?
Do you expect any like potential growing pains getting in the way, or do you think he's going to be fine?
No, I think he's going to be fine. I don't see any growing pains for Trey. I see growing pains with AD. I think that's going to take some time getting used to for him a little bit, because he's never really played with a true passer like Trey, in my opinion.
LeBron?
Not to the extent Trey. Trey's a much better passer than LeBron. Like I'm not saying LeBron, Trey's a better player than LeBron. I'm saying pure passing standpoint.
No, you'd have to give your podcast mic if you ever said something like that. No,
yeah.
Well, it's worth noting LeBron did lead the league in assists the year they won the title with
AD. He did. I'm just saying, like from finding someone in the perfect spot, setting them up perfectly, knowing where they want it. He hasn't played with someone like Trey in that regard.
Trey Young is a better pick and roll entry passer. I'll give you that. I think one of the knocks against Trey though is that he doesn't always play within the game, and that's where I think LeBron takes some of the cake, as LeBron is just always knows what the situation calls for. But if you want someone to feed a big man and just make sure you're sending 20 points, there's Trey.
Yeah, so and that's why I'm saying here, where it's like AD's never had someone like that. He just hasn't.
Are we including the games of Rondo he had?
Yeah. Okay. He just hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know what Bryson means. It's like this style of passer, this type
This
of
exact
passing
style. Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas, like, I
Um,
think AJ is gonna thrive with Trey. I think some of the other guys are going to do great with him, and we saw that in a few short 5 games with him on the team. It's just AD. He is 33 years old and hasn't played, like I said, with a passer like Trey, where it's like it'll take a few games for him to actually get used to that and learn. It's like, oh, this is what a point guard's supposed to be like.
yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
I would say Trey gets like 23 points a game, point something assists, and then AJ. I agree, it's around 17 points.
It's just hard to
Just
average 20 as a rookie.
With
yeah,
that many options, as we said.
that's the thing because this team is going to be good. It's not going to be like a team that it's not like the Kings where Akins going to like shoot all the time,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like it's just hard conditions for AJ to average 20, but I think he can definitely still be in the Rookie of the Year conversation.
Oh yeah. It's just
Yeah.
I think he needs to average 17 if he wants to be in that rookie of the year competition, and they have to have a winning record.
Yeah. Now, Josh, with game 2 looming on Sunday, what are some things you're looking for?
Guard up on Acuff because he's kind of hasn't been shooting that well so far in his summer league. I want to see like if like John Muir can like continue doing what he did to DP, like that's gonna be exciting because it's all right. This dude kind of just locks everyone up,
On a two-way deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's all right. This guy has to be a rotation guy soon. Like I know they've got a million players, but it's just if you can just lock up the first options. I mean, obviously it's different when you're gonna face like the big guns in the NBA. But even like I remember last season, he guarded Donovan Mitchell pretty well. Like
He guarded
he's
Harden
had
well, I
success.
thought.
What happened?
I thought he had some good reps against Harden when he was still a Clipper.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like he's done well against like some of the big name guys, and it's like, all right, like you can't waste that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that the rotation's crowded, but it's gonna be crazy to see. You know what I mean?
He
If
showed
he
it might
just
be
keeps-
crowded, but if you have a guy who can do that against Aaron Peterson, that's worth playing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like when it's crowded, you need guys to like show like, okay, you can't take me off. Like I have
He's
this
just got to
standard.
watch the fouls. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Yeah.
It goes for a
And
lot of
then
young Wizards for that matter.
yeah, and then I just want to see AJ shoot from the outside. Well, shoot better from the outside.
Yeah.
Good adjustment.
Yeah, it's kind of a situation where we've seen it with other young Wizards players where their form and their arc isn't really there yet. So just keep working on that.
Yeah, you wonder how much that changes if his release point is going to stay that low, but he's not going to go for 5 every game. You're right. He's going to have some moment where he's
Yeah.
going to finish one of those highlights.
You don't have to be Steph Curry. Just hit 2
Hit
of
some.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a rookie. Like you don't have to set some kind of record right now.
Yeah.
We can all be
Because it's like as good as he was last game, he'll be 10 times better if you like actually is more of a threat from outside. Because then it's
I
like
think
you
he's
can't
become like a 36% 3-point shooter. I'll take that.
Yeah, I don't
know
think
it
that's gonna
sounds-
I would
happen
definitely
next
take
season.
that. That's like I wouldn't anything higher feels like almost unrealistic.
Yeah. I'm saying
Yeah.
like for his career, a 36%
For his career.
3-point shooter.
I'll
Like
still- that's about as good as I'd hope for.
and so like that'd be
Yeah.
that'd be awesome because
Yeah,
like
that would be.
and I was talking with Henry on the way back where it's like we're trying to figure out like what his game encapsulates the most. And it's like you watch how he plays. I'm not saying they are the same player. Sorry. It reminds me a lot of Shea. It really does with the footwork, getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. It's just very Shea like.
You know who my cup is? I'll give you a hint. He's a former Knicks legend.
Former Knicks legend.
Yeah.
Really?
Tracy McGrady. That's the comp.
Yeah.
The T-Mac comp gets thrown around a lot. Look, he hates that Knicks reference.
I
The
never
T-Mac comp gets
think-
thrown around a lot. I think this is the first worthy T-Mac comp we've had in the modern era.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. I never think of T-Mac as a Knicks guy, but it's true. Like it's the T-Mac and Shea have both been thrown around. It's funny because Shea isn't like an above the rim guy the way AJ can be.
No.
But it's the foul thing. You know what I mean? Where he
It's
drops
the
the
majority
fouls.
of how he plays. The mid range,
Yeah.
getting to the rim, because they're both amazing at getting to the rim, and it's the footwork. The
Yeah.
footwork is just amazing for a rookie.
Finishing the feet, they both have it already.
AJ had this one play where he didn't hit the shot, but it was like he got to the block and then like faded away, spun and like
On DP, right? On Peterson.
Yeah.
I know what you're
That
talking
was
about.
that was fire. Like
He
if
said
he hits those,
DP
it's like-
flying. And then like that two-hand jam that he had where they had 4 guys on him trying to stop him that play.
Yeah.
Like
The
it's
first
just
step. He knows where to work in space.
He's very powerful. Like it's just you can't really if as soon as he gets like a full head of steam or like any kind of really if he gets any kind of run towards the rim going, it's tough.
it's just been really impressive watching him.
Yeah.
It
That
has.
it has about as good of a
One summer league
fun of
game.
a
One summer league game.
yeah.
All
So
the
about as
fucking
fun of
time.
one game as we can ask for
Oh my
for just
goodness.
wanting some Wizards
And
basketball.
this next one might be his last with how well he's playing.
Yeah.
We might not even see Trey Johnson next game.
You never. I'd assume
mean-
they come out for one more, but you never know. They all look
Yeah.
like they are very perhaps overqualified for summer league ball.
Too good for summer league, as Tyler Rucker would say.
I think Riley should play more.
Yeah,
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
I want him to play more
agree.
simply to learn how to be more of a point guard. That's what I
That's the
want to
funny
see.
one. I don't know if he's ever gonna be like a point guard the way that
I
fans
agree.
want.
I get what you're saying. I just like this. The bench needs a facilitator. It does. And Will Riley is their best option at the moment for a bench facilitator. I just want to see him play more to kind of, learn how to be a better passer.
It feels like they're definitely breeding the young guys for that. They didn't run an obvious point guard out to
No.
start that summer league game, and Ajin, Will, and the other guys are sort of alternating. Who's going to
They rarely went back to back possessions of someone running the point.
Yeah, so it seems like they are prepping for the idea of platoon style playmaking off the bench.
And it's like this is like we said before. This is gonna be Bub's chance to be like, all right, like this is kind of your path to like getting real minutes on this team,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like if you're just talking about shooting off the bench, they do have Trey, Trey the younger Trey for that, right? So it's like Bub's a great 3-point shooter, but it's like you can't be too redundant. That's another thing with this team is like they got some guys with kind of similar skill sets. I feel the same about Jameer and Bilal a little bit too, though defensively. So it's like, all right, you got to stand out where it's like you're bringing something that is kind of a void, and it's like a backup facilitator, is a void on this team. So it's whoever is better at that between Bub and Will, I think it's gonna get the inside track to be ahead in the rotation.
Yeah.
Anything else you got?
That's it for me, man. It's a long episode.
That's okay. There was things actually happened. We had
Yes.
good things to talk about today.
There's a lot going on.
Of course. Take care of the East Coast sports where we're going, all right, Josh?
Please.
Yes, sir.
Well,
See
thank
you
you
guys later.
guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening as always. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.